As we learned in Part 1, through Hong Hong, the police discovered that victim Bao Tuyet had also visited Hang Lan Spa before her death. This was a very significant coincidence. Thus, after finishing their conversation with Hong Hong, Officer Thuan and Officer Man Niu immediately headed to Hang Lan Spa. 2 consecutive murders had occurred, both victims shared similar causes of death, and the place they frequented most before their deaths was the same location. Officer Thuan suspected that Hang Lan Spa was hiding something they did not want the police to discover, or at the very least, it was connected to both cases. When they arrived at Hang Lan Spa, the officers requested the staff to identify the person who had interacted with victim Trin Bao Tuyet the most. The results showed that massage therapist Lu Na Chao was the person Bao Tuyet had requested most frequently. As in the previous investigation, Officer Thuan questioned Lu Na Chao about what she knew about victim Bao Tuyet and why she was a regular contact for the victim. Na Chao replied that she only knew Bao Tuyet as a client and that their relationship was strictly professional. She added that she did not know anything about the victim's personal life and never interfered with it. However, while Na Chao was speaking, Officer Thuan noticed that her demeanor this time was evasive, and her answers were hesitant. This raised his suspicions about her. Realizing that he could not obtain any concrete leads from Na Chao, Officer Thuan decided to devise a plan to monitor her movements and uncover what she might be hiding. From May 13th to May 15th, Officer Thuan closely monitored Na Chao, keeping track of her daily routine and the places she visited. During the surveillance, he observed that Na Chao frequently shopped for clothes but appeared nervous and wary, as if she were afraid of being seen. Additionally, her every action seemed overly cautious, making it seem almost impossible to find any suspicious behavior. However, on May 16th, Officer Thuan discovered something unusual about Lu Na Chao. That day, at around 8 p.m., Lu Na Chao left work and headed home from Hang Lan Spa. On her way, she turned into a small, quiet alley, a shortcut she often used to get home. Na Chao continued walking to a perfume shop on her way home. After Na Chao finished her purchase, Officer Thuan entered the shop and asked the staff about what Na Chao had just bought. Seeing the police badge, the shop employee cooperated readily. The employee showed Officer Thuan a bottle of perfume and explained that it was one of the shop's most selective perfumes, meaning it appealed to very few buyers. However, it was also one of the most unique perfumes they sold. Only a small number of people had purchased this perfume, and at this shop, Lu Na Chao was the only customer who had bought it multiple times. What surprised Officer Thuan the most was that the perfume Na Chao had just purchased had the exact same scent as the one found on the bodies of both victims, Phuong Diem Lan and Trin Bao Tuyet. On May 17th, Officer Thuan returned to Hang Lan Spa. This time, he brought the perfume, identical to the one Na Chao had purchased, and asked the staff if they recognized it or knew whether it was used at the spa. According to the spa staff, it was not prohibited for massage therapists to choose and use their own preferred perfumes for clients. Therefore, each therapist often had a specific type of perfume they chose to use. However, not everyone was familiar with all the perfumes their colleagues used, so they couldn't confirm whether the perfume Officer Thuan brought was used at the spa. Still uncertain about Lu Na Chao's connection to the 2 murders, Officer Thuan continued to monitor her every move. On the afternoon of May 19th, Na Chao returned home from work as usual. She appeared to be alone, entering her house and closing the door behind her. By around 9 p.m. that evening, Officer Thuan was startled to see a tall man leaving Na Chao's house. During his surveillance, he had never seen anyone enter or leave her house. So, when and how had this man entered her home? Officer Thuan approached Na Chao's house and found it locked and dark, indicating that no one was inside at the time. He immediately pursued the man who had just left her house and reported the situation to headquarters, prompting Officer Man Niu to dispatch backup. After nearly an hour of tailing the man, Officer Thuan finally saw him stop in front of a 2-story house located in a small alley on Tan Dan Street. The man pressed himself against the house's entrance, carefully observing his surroundings in the dimly lit alley. Then, he retrieved an object from his bag and successfully unlocked the door to the house. Witnessing the illegal act, Officer Thuan immediately sent the address of the house to the backup team and continued to follow the man. Shortly after the man entered the house, as Officer Thuan reached the foot of the stairs on the first floor, he heard strange noises. The sounds resembled someone trying to scream but being muffled. Seizing the moment, Officer Thuan quickly ran toward the source of the sound. He discovered that the noise was coming from a bedroom on the second floor. Officer Thuan kicked open the bedroom door, entered, and pointed his gun directly at a figure sitting on the bed. The scene before him was horrifying. A man was sitting on top of a woman lying on the bed, his hands tightly holding a towel over her face. Startled by the loud noise and the officer's command, the man slowly turned his head. This was the most shocking moment in Officer Thuan's investigation of the two cases. The man's face was identical to that of the massage therapist, Lu Na Chao. Seeing Officer Thuan pointing a gun at him, the man did not dare to resist. At that moment, Officer Thuan swiftly handcuffed him. When the backup team arrived at the scene, the man was immediately escorted to the Chiêu Thông police station. The young woman was rushed to the hospital by Officer Man Niu for a medical examination. After completing the transfer of the suspect to the police station, Officer Thuan officially entered the next phase of uncovering the mystery behind this peculiar suspect. Officer Thuan went to the hospital where the victim was undergoing a medical check-up to collect her testimony. According to her statement, the victim's name was Tran Hu Lam, 27 years old, living alone in a house on Tan Dan Street. Officer Thuan asked Tran Hu Lam if she recognized the person who attacked her or knew why she was targeted. Hu Lam said she was terrified when a man suddenly broke into her house and attacked her while she was sleeping. She usually locked her doors very carefully, so she couldn't believe someone had managed to break in. When she was attacked, she panicked. The room was dark, with only dim light from a small night lamp, so she couldn't clearly see the attacker's face. However, after calming down, Hu Lam felt that the face seemed somewhat familiar. Officer Thuan then asked Hu Lam whether she had recently been in contact with any strangers, frequently visited any new places, or had any suspicious acquaintances. Hu Lam responded that she hadn't met anyone new recently. If there was any new place she had been visiting, it was Hang Lan Spa. Due to work pressure and a lack of relaxation, a colleague at her company had introduced her to Hang Lan Spa, a place the colleague frequented to unwind. Hu Lam decided to try it once and was very pleased with the service, so she registered for a membership card and started visiting regularly. She even became familiar with a particular massage therapist there, a female employee named Lu Na Chao. Based on Hu Lam's testimony, Officer Thuan no longer had any reason to exclude Lu Na Chao from the list of individuals potentially connected to the murders of Phuong Diem Lan and Trin Bao Tuyet, as well as the assault on Tran Hu Lam. On the morning of May 20th, Officer Man Niu led a team to Lu Na Chao's house to arrest her, while Officer Thuan stayed at the police station to interrogate the man who attacked Tran Hu Lam. However, the interrogation had barely begun when Officer Thuan received news from the investigation team that they had searched both Lu Na Chao's residence and Hang Lan Spa, where she worked, but found no trace of her. They suspected she had fled. Despite not apprehending Lu Na Chao, Officer Thuan proceeded with the interrogation of the man suspected to be her accomplice. Facing the suspect who attacked Tran Hu Lam, Officer Thuan was shocked to see that the man's face was identical to Lu Na Chao's. He demanded the suspect reveal his identity, motives, and whether he was a twin sibling of Lu Na Chao. With an arrogant demeanor, the suspect confessed that he was not Lu Na Chao's twin, he was Lu Na Chao. At this point, the truth was revealed. The suspect's real name was not Lu Na Chao but Lu Din Trung. Lu Na Chao was merely a fake name he used to conceal his identity. This deception stemmed from his traumatic past. Lu Din Trung was the son of a family with only a mother and no father. His mother was a sex worker who was involved with many men. Therefore, it wasn't that Din Trung didn't have a father, he simply didn't know who his father was. From a young age, due to his delicate and feminine appearance, Lu Din Trung was often mistaken for a girl and became the target of teasing and bullying by a group of boys in his class. Throughout his childhood, he was bullied by peers outside and faced abuse from his mother at home. His mother despised her work as a sex worker but had no other options. Furthermore, the fact that her profession led to the birth of a child like Din Trung, whose father was unknown, caused her to harbor resentment toward him. On many occasions, Din Trung witnessed his mother cheerfully entertaining men outside, but at home, she revealed her cruel nature and frequently beat and cursed him. This led Din Trung to realize that his mother was a two-faced, deceitful person. From childhood to adulthood, Din Trung carried a deep-seated disgust for women he perceived as deceitful and promiscuous. At the same time, he became obsessed with his feminine appearance. This obsession grew to the point where he even thought that perhaps his true identity was that of a woman. Lacking proper upbringing and education, Lu Din Trung struggled to find stable employment. When he saw that Hang Lan Spa was hiring massage therapists and offering training, he applied for the position. However, the spa only hired female employees. Left with no other choice, Din Trung capitalized on his feminine appearance, disguised himself as a woman, and adopted the name Lu Na Chao to secure the job. He lied to the manager, claiming that he had lost his ID card and could not provide documentation for a background check. The manager, being negligent in their duties, hired Din Trung without thoroughly verifying his background. During his time working at Hang Lan Spa, Din Trung had the opportunity to interact with many clients from various walks of life. When Din Trung became a familiar employee to some clients, he overheard many personal stories, including the dirty secrets of Phuong Diem Lan, Trinh Bao Tuyet, and Tran Hu Lam. With the first victim, Phuong Diem Lan, he learned that she was clearly in a romantic relationship with one man but did not reject the advances of another, instead playing with his feelings. This deeply triggered Din Trung's hatred towards women he perceived as deceitful. After hearing Phuong Diem Lan's stories multiple times, Din Trung could no longer control himself and decided to kill her. On the evening of April 11th, in the guise of Lu Na Chao, he went to Phuong Diem Lan's house. He had previously lied to her, claiming that the spa offered at-home massage services, which led Diem Lan to book an appointment with him that evening. When he arrived, Din Trung used his favorite perfume to massage Diem Lan's entire body. However, the physical contact overwhelmed him with uncontrollable physical desires. Succumbing to his violent instincts fueled by close contact with women, Din Trung raped the victim in her own home. Diem Lan resisted fiercely, attempting to flee to her bedroom and locking the door to block him out. But her strength gave out, and she couldn't escape Din Trung. He broke in, pushed her down, grabbed her by the ankles, and dragged her back to the mattress where she had been lying for the massage. There, he strangled her with his hands until she stopped breathing. The first murder did not frighten Din Trung. Instead, it amplified the violent tendencies within him, pushing him further into a dark and dangerous path. When Din Trung discovered that Trinh Bao Tuyet lived a two-faced life, appearing as a virtuous girl in front of others but secretly flirting with both single and married men, he decided to approach her and killed her in the same way he had killed Phuong Diem Lan. The day he murdered Bao Tuyet was the night of May 8th. Killing the second victim further fueled Din Trung's inability to stop himself. Although the police were investigating and asking questions, Din Trung remained confident that they would never discover his true identity as a man. This confidence led him to leave traces of his semen at the crime scenes, believing that the police would never be able to track him down. When it came to the third victim, Tran Hu Lam, Din Trung learned that she had confided her plan to use her beauty to deceive a man for love and money before running away. This made Din Trung decide that Hu Lam would be his next target. This time, he did not deceive Hu Lam into booking a home massage service. Instead, he recklessly went to her house, revealing his true identity, to commit the crime. What he didn't anticipate was that Officer Thuan had been monitoring him for some time and successfully prevented his criminal act. Now, with his arrest, Din Trung had no choice but to confess. However, he scornfully remarked that it had taken the police too long to catch him. With the testimonies of the victims and the confession of Lu Din Trung, the police collected his DNA sample and compared it to the semen samples found at the crime scenes of the two murders. The results showed a perfect match. With evidence, witness statements, and the confession of Din Trung, the case was fully resolved. On May 24, the trial for the crimes of Lu Din Trung took place. At the end of the sentencing, the perpetrator, Lu Din Trung, a 30-year-old male, was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole for the crimes of rape and murder of 2 people, as well as the crime of attempted murder and assault. This case caused a public uproar in Chiêu Thông City in general and Chiêu Duong district in particular for an extended period of time. Many were shocked by Lu Din Trung's cunning scheme of disguising himself as a woman to commit crimes. They couldn't believe that such a twisted and deceptive murderer was living among them in the same society. This case serves as a real warning to everyone. We must always be vigilant about the people around us. It also challenges our perception of the truth. Not everything seen with the naked eye is reality. There are always individuals who hide behind a false identity, concealing their true selves, with criminal tendencies rooted in traumatic pasts. Thank you for joining us today. See you in our next videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Loi T Tham Kua An Trang to hear more real-life crime stories.